How much difference is there between 8 years worth of Taylormade drivers? As I want to know, is there any difference in distance or even forgiveness? We've chosen the same loft and the same head type for each year and model, as well as use the same stiff flex venter shaft that comes in the Stealth 2. But I've purposely set up this loft and shaft combination to highlight two major reasons that make the biggest difference when it comes to distance and dispersion. And also showing that one of these models of golf ball will magically solve the problem that we have throughout this video. So I'll show you the prices of all these second-hand options, obviously the Stealth 2 being brand new. I've chosen non-adjustable weighting as that tends to be more forgiving, as all the weight can be at the back of the head. And I do want to rate all of these drivers on sound, feel and performance, not to mention which one I consider the best value for money when it comes to ticking all of those categories off. In which show you how club fitting and also ball fitting can make a huge difference, and why buying a brand new driver off the shelf potentially makes none. Now the goal is to swing all of these drivers around 110 miles an hour, as I think it'd be a pointless test, me swinging at 125. We're gonna do 2 rounds of testing, and any bad shots that I obviously do, where it's basically me, I will obviously cut out, just to get a rough idea of exactly how much ball speed, how much forgiveness, how much launch, how much spin we're getting from each model. Up first, the 10.5 100-pound M2 driver, arguably one of the best looking Taylormade drivers to ever have come out. Jesus Christ, this thing sounds good. Finally hit a bad one with it. Not gonna lie, that's gonna be incredibly tough to beat. I accidentally forgot to change it to the M2 stat, so we will change that in a bit. But this is the number that we're gonna be focusing a lot on this video. And one of the biggest issues I have with driver testing and driver comparisons is it's so personal. I know I love this driver and I know I hate the sound of this one. Will that play a part in how I swing it and hit the numbers? Well, at 110 miles an hour, well, it more than likely probably will. The point of this video is that let's just take personal opinion and favoritism, i.e. sound, looks, appeal, how close all of these drivers will be to each other, and maybe get you guys asking the right questions when trying to find the right driver for yourself, even if it does sound a bit like a frying pan. Slightly more expensive in the second-hand market, and this was the first installment of twist face technology, and obviously we'll move on to the carbon faces, and fair play to Taylormade over the last 6 years for giving and straighter drives, opposed to saying this one will go extremely far. Right, up next, the sound is better, and we've got twist face, 200 pounds, 220 pounds, around that ballpark. Let's see what we can produce. Virtually the same sound as the M2, but looks better, and I have to say, on off-center hits, I do feel like I get away with it a tiny bit better. But at the same time, that's really hard to distinguish, because at the end of the day, I'm warming up. That's why we go do another round. I could just be swinging differently. I can see my club head speed wanting to climb up the more shots that I'm hitting. The only problem with swinging this setup faster, 10.5 regular stiff flex, is you're going to get more spin, and more backspin means less distance. Right, let's hit the big boy. Stealth 2. First time testing it. Let's see what it sounds and feels like. Well, that is definitely all me. Quick delete of that. I'm not gonna lie, that one sounded great. We're gonna do a round 2 with each driver just to make sure we've got enough averages. However, I do want to explain why it doesn't matter about the brand, potentially the age of a driver, as I'll use my Gamer, my 9 degree that's lofted down, X-Stiff Diamana shaft, and I'll swing it 111, 112 miles an hour. And because it's stiffer and because it's got less loft, 113 miles an hour. But what was the spin rate on it? Just under 2,500. But it's straight. I was only able to get 2,500 with all the others from over here, meaning it's the longest, but also the straightest. And that's one of the reasons why I don't care using PXG's cheap model, as I know the loft and the shaft combination gives me the numbers that I require, especially for my very hooky draw. Well, 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 that's rather interesting. Let's explain why this was able to produce the longest shot of today's testing and why on average this was actually the shortest. And at this point, I'm pretty sure we can guarantee that I'm definitely not a robot. As you can see, we've tried to keep it around 112 miles an hour, so 119 with the M4, SIM2, 112. The Stealth 2 was actually the M2, 115 on average. And actually the fastest, mainly because I was getting tired towards the end, the Stealth 2. The most backspin today on average was produced by the Stealth 2, followed by, well, the SIM2, and then the M4 and the M2 were pretty close, around 2,700. But then also we can correlate the backspin to the tighter dispersion. M2, widest dispersion, followed by the M4, followed by the Sim, followed by the Stealth. And that's got nothing to do to say that these are higher spinning driver heads than the other two. There's too many variables. Me swinging it for a start, not to mention it's quite an easy fix for me to get those numbers right. 9-degree driver, X stiff shaft. There you go. I guess the point I'm trying to make is if you look at the club speed, obviously Stealth 2 was fastest, but let's be honest, 1 mile an hour on average between all of them. And then we look at the ball speed, 163.7 on average, 163.7 on average, 163.2, so 0.5 worse for the M2, and 165, but that's understandable considering, well, I swung it a tiny bit faster. But before I give you my picks of why I think you should go and get these specific driver heads, let's take the highest spinning driver from the test in my hands and give ourselves a different ball to see if that changes the numbers and explain why club fit and ball fit can make a huge difference to your game. We're going for the most affordable golf ball from Vice's range, the drive ball. And looking through the ball data when they've done robotic testing, only at 95 miles an hour, I must say, this came out as the lowest spinning, especially from a driver. Meaning, if I take the same driver that was spinning on average around 2,700, I don't think realistically we've got one below 2,500. Same swing, same speed, different ball. I don't believe it. First shot out the gate, 2,600. Meaning on the last two and the last one here, I got the 3 lowest spin rates of the whole session, apart from the one pull hook that I had at the start. And that's what we typically see with more affordable balls. They're designed to go a long way, drop that spin, help that launch, because when we start this game, distance is pretty much all we care about. And you're probably thinking, Simon, why don't we all just use the affordable balls as we get more distance? Well, mainly because this game's not all about distance, especially as you get better. Let's go with the drive ball first. And knowing that I can hit that Pro Plus at 2,500 with my right driver at my club head speed, with the right shaft and head, as we've explained, the reason I'm more inclined to use a Pro Plus, i.e. I'm going to get a tiny bit more ball speed, as let's be honest, it's got many more layers to it. But when it comes to round the green, 9,000 there at 86 miles an hour with the drive. 10,800 with the Pro Plus, just to prove it wasn't me just swinging it faster that made obviously more spin with the drive. 90 miles an hour with the drive ball, 9,200 in terms of spin. 8 years worth of driver testing, and ultimately we can conclude that there's no one right driver, but there is one right loft and shaft combination for a player, and how important finding the right golf ball can be to your game, as we all play with golf balls, so just finding the right one that suits your category can be the difference at getting longer drives and just as much control around the green through your level. I do have to say, I think the M2 might be weaning itself out my top favourite list, only due to the fact it's still 120 pounds in good condition, and I do feel Taylormade have done a good job in terms of the forgiveness element. shallower face, wider heel to toe, and realistically with the right head and shaft combination, as that is the main component when it comes to distance, and hopefully through this video you have seen just that. When it comes to value for money and sound, feel, performance, I have to go for the SIM2. You can get them for around 180, maybe 200 pounds. These are all going to be about 140 and 150. I think the price difference for the condition, the look and the feel, ultimately that is what I'm going on. But as you can see, you find the right head, shaft and loft combination in any of these three, well, you're going to get just as much distance, even though some of them might not sound as good as the others.